Hey everybody, and welcome back. We're doing another Tacoma video, the long-awaited steering wheel control buttons video. Let's get to it. First things first, anytime you're working with the airbag system, disconnect the battery. That's a 10 mil right there. Here's what we're going to need. You need a different airbag because the controls are nested on the side. I was able to get all of this as well as the little screws that hold these in at a junkyard for a reasonable price. However, make sure that you get the right switches for your model because they are either orange or green backlighting. I don't remember the exact year. I think it was around 2010 though, maybe 2012 that they changed. And if you get the wrong color, it'll look kind of dumb. Then you're going to need to take these little guys off, which I'll show you all of that, with either a little screwdriver or one of these pry tools. That's going to let you use a T30 Torx to take the airbag out. And here is what we don't have shown here is the clock spring. So the clock spring on these, depending on whether or not yours has the connector needed to plug this guy in, you will most likely, if you don't already have audio controls, need to change out the clock spring. Now I've already done this on this truck because I had a cruise control intermittent issue that I resolved with one of those real cheap clock springs you find on eBay, and so that's why I don't have that part here, but I will show you how you'd get that out. You'll need a 19 mil to take the steering wheel nut off, and then depending on if it's ornery or not, sometimes you need some stock here, and you can make yourself a little puller tool to take the wheel off if it's not willing to come off the splines. So here we've got the current steering wheel, and as you can see, the airbag does not have the cutouts that we need to get those audio controls in. So let's start by getting the airbag out of the way. Here's that little door that I was talking about. Go ahead and take that off, and then use the T30. Now I've already done this on the other side, and it can be a little bit tricky to show, but sometimes you have to pull up on the screw to be able to get the airbag started. Now you can see here what we're going to do is we're going to pull this back. These two connectors here, again, it'll be a little tricky to do with one hand, but you're going to take your hook and pick, you're going to put it underneath, oops, and then pull up like that. Let me see if I can get it started on this side. There we go. And like that. And then this is just a little ground clip. I got that little ground terminal clip off. Hopefully I'm giving you a better view now, and then you're just gonna, oh gosh. Well, learn from my mistakes. Don't do that with the pick. Use a screwdriver instead. I was able to find the little piece of plastic though, and so I don't think we're gonna have any trouble with that. Just make sure to actually pull up on the ends with a screwdriver and get it out like that. So behind the steering wheel is the clock spring, and this is that connector that you're going to need to hook these buttons up to. So if you don't see this connector and you only have the airbag and this little guy here for the cruise control, which we'll undo right now, then you're going to need to change your clock spring. If you already have this connector, then you're good to go and you can skip this next step. To get to this, you have to take the wheel off. There's that 19 mil. So if I was doing this, I would take a Sharpie and I would mark this, because you can use a torque wrench, but it's on here pretty tight and it's hard to hold the wheel as you take this off. So I like to use an impact to take it off and put it back on. And then rather than torquing it, just put it right back where it was. But if you were doing it by hand, you certainly could. You just have to hold the wheel. Can't do it with two hands. And then you can usually just take the wheel on each side and wiggle it back and forth, and then it will come off the splines. But if it doesn't come off, this is what I was talking about earlier, is you can take a couple of M8 by 1.25 thread bolts, and then the spacing between these is 2.2 inches, which is very close to 2 3/16, as well as 56 millimeters. And then you'd want to take this guy out of the way probably, or use some spacers. But you'd put this on here, and then you would stack something in the center, and as you screwed those down, it would pull this away. You can probably see what I'm getting at now, like a DIY puller, or you could go out and buy the proper tool and do it that way as well. Now that we've addressed the clock spring, we can go ahead and hook this connector back in for the cruise control, and then let's get these buttons put on here. Got two little push pins here and here that go into these two holes. Let me get this lined up and then push that in there and there. There's a little screw. Now on this side, on different Toyota vehicles, maybe the Tundra and I think the Land Cruiser and some of the Lexus models, you could get other things over here like lane keep, you could get voice control, you could get all types of stuff. Now I don't know if that would work with the OEM radio, and I even more doubt that it would work with an aftermarket one like this. But anyways, this one's just the standard blank one that you'd have. Similar to the other side, it pushes in down there, and then another little screw right here. So now that we got those little screws on there and there, going to clip this guy in here to the clock spring, and then you're going to hook up your airbag, go ahead and get it put back in there, and then the screws on the sides and the covers, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to get that thrown in. I did notice there's a little arm right here that you want to tuck that wire behind to keep it out of the way, and then when you're putting the airbag in, you sometimes have to kind of angle it and then wiggle it into place. You can see this side isn't going in quite right, and then there we go. Now it's nice and flush like it's supposed to be. Battery's hooked back in, everything is installed. It sure looks nice. However, unfortunately, the buttons do not work with the aftermarket radio. This came with the truck when I got it, and the truck didn't used to have the switches, so they never added the module and the wiring, all that extra stuff to send the signal from here into there. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on this and fix this in a later video. Might not even make a video, we'll see. But if you have a factory radio, that's it. You're done. It's already hooked up. And that's where we're going to leave today as well. Well, that's it for today's video. Get subscribed. Got more content on the Tacoma. We're not getting rid of this one anytime soon. And we've got videos out there for the Corolla, Matrix, got Prius videos, got all types of videos out there, all types of things in the future. So get subscribed, leave a comment. Do you like aftermarket radios, or do you prefer the factory radio? I'll tell you what, right about now, I'm kind of wishing I just had that factory radio so my buttons would work without some, $50 module just to make it communicate. It's kind of annoying the way things are, but that's okay. And anyways, appreciate it very much. Like, subscribe. See you next time. Thank you.